when I choose a wine, I should choose a wine that I like. Maybe the husband and the wife, they should pick something that they like.
Absolutely.
So how do they pick it? Based on just the taste, or like
I would recommend being blindfolded.
Blindfolded.
There you go. The true test of a marriage right there. If you start them off being blindfolded, then you have you're not already pre-thinking about what kind of wine or what kind of style you want.
Right.
And if you're out to impress somebody, don't think about where the wine's coming from
like
a
the
country.
labels, right? Oh, like
exactly.
This is from XX country.
Exactly. And you're never going to impress everybody with the wine anyway. So let the wine just be the wine, as long as it goes well with the food. And if you can taste the wine with the food, I highly recommend it. But if you cannot, and you're tasting the wine by itself, try to use a little bit of your imagination about how that's going to go. And make sure, maybe if you are drinking, you're going to have the event outside, taste the wines outside.
Oh, do you think that couples really know how to taste wine?
No.
Okay. Could you just do a demonstration? Right?
Sure, happily.
What's the correct way to taste and try wine?
So there's a few things that you really want to consider when looking at a wine first. So there's you want to look at the wine with the appearance. Then you want to, a lot of people swirl the wine.
Yep.
Now, we swirl the wine not to really so much look at the color, but to actually get the wine to open up. For example, this bottle of wine, the juice in this bottle has been sitting in there for 6 years. And so for 6 years, the first thing you want to do, if you were in a bottle, first thing you'd want to do is you'd want to stretch and really start to breathe. And that's why we swirl the wine. And that's to get the oxygen working within the wine. And then we smell the wine. Now, we're not looking to overanalyze the wine. And, is there chocolate? Is there toffee? Is there berries? Is there, what are you smelling?
Right.
We're really just looking to make sure it smells okay. We're making sure that the wine doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell. There's a few things that you don't want it to smell like. You do not want it to smell like wet cardboard. You do not want it to smell like vinegar. And you do not want it to smell like nail polish remover. If it smells like either of those things, you don't want it to take it on.
Okay.
So we're really just looking for faults. After you've smelled wine for a long time, then you can start analyzing it all the way down to those other components I mentioned, where you start getting very specific. And you may smell cigar, I may smell cedar, and ultimately, if you smell what you smell, and I smell what I smell, who's right and who's wrong, right?
So there's no right, no wrong.
There is no right, there is no wrong.
Right.
So after we've smelled the wine, now we're going to take a sip. And the next sip, we're going to take it and we're going to let it sit on our tongue for just a few seconds before we swallow.
A really small sip.
Really small sip. Just to get your tongue and your brain actually used to the fact that you're about to have alcohol. If you don't take wine or any alcohol very regularly, the alcohol vapors in your brain immediately start thinking differently. And you could get the burning sensation and you won't be able to really tell what the wine tastes like.
Right.
After we leave that sip in our mouth for a couple seconds, we're going to breathe through our mouth, just a little bit of air, leaving that wine on our tongue. Then we're going to swallow the wine and immediately put another sip in our mouth. And that sip is going to be what tells us what the wine is truly like.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers again.
This is the correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
You notice that second taste, it really makes your mouth water.
It does.
So if you're picking a food or wine to go with food, when your mouth is watering, your mouth is now ready for action. So when you put food in your mouth, if your mouth is watering and ready to go, that food's going to taste so much better. And so wines can be, some people like dry wine, some people like sweet wines, but the most important thing is that your mouth is now ready to play the dance back and forth between food and wine.
Right.
Do you like this wine?
Yeah. It does feel more complete the second time around.
Certainly. Especially if it's the first glass of wine that you've had or the first drink that you've had, you want to give it that extra second to let your brain get accustomed to the fact that you're about to have alcohol, and it turns on all your senses. And then also, you eliminate that burning sensation of going, ooh, that was a little bit too spicy or a little bit too whatnot, and it gives you the true expression of the wine.
I see. Seems like I've been doing it wrong.
Practice makes perfect.
Okay. And Chris, for many hotels and some restaurants, they have something called like house wine, right? So
yes.
What is house wine?
Okay. House wine is basically the best deal that the hotel or restaurant could go out and get on a product that they see themselves moving quite a bit of. Now, for us, a house wine can be something that they want to sell by the glass, or a house wine could be something they do use for weddings. Traditionally, house wine is also becoming a screw cap wine because it's much faster. And for a wedding, if you have a wedding of 400 people and you need to open 100 bottles right now, to use a cork puller and spend 90 seconds opening each bottle, it doesn't go over too well with the management.
I see.
So they go with the screw cap. And the screw cap is fast and easy. And there's nothing wrong with screw cap, but that is traditionally what you'll find a house pour to be.
Right.
And a house pour is a fast-moving product
right.
that typically doesn't have bottle age, and it's typically meant to be, the wine is made now and ready to be sold straight away.
So for house wine, it could change any time, right?
Absolutely.
For a hotel. So no point tasting the house wine with your food, right? Because when the
Very good
wedding
point.
happens, it could be a different wine.
That's a very good point. As long as unless they guarantee you that this same house pour that you've just had is going to be the same house pour that you're going to have. So again, going back, I wouldn't go more than 30 days before the wedding before choosing the wine, because if you do, the likelihood of that house pour changing is very likely. A lot of restaurants will change every 30 to 60 days their house pour, or at least their special wine of the month.
I see.
So you will see some wine lists that say French house wine, Italian house wine, or...
Does it even mean anything?
Not
France
really.
is so big.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Italy is so big.
Exactly.
It could be anything, right?
They could go get any product from that country and then serve it to you, and that's what you get. So I would take note when you decide on a wine, if this is truly a wine that you want to have for your wedding, take a picture of it. At the same time, there are these apps out there, Vivino, which you can get a rating for and see what other people like. Go ahead and use some of that as credibility, but ultimately, use your own palate to be your guide about whether or not you like the wine. So, do you take durian?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I've become accustomed to it now. I will say initially, I was, wow, what is going on here? And as a chef, I have to try everything. I eat and taste everything. Right. And now I actually can appreciate even the smell walking down the street. It's something that I found actually a little bit nostalgic as well. But, for example, if I didn't take durian, does that mean that what a wine that you like, I would or wouldn't like because you like it when you like another product? And so ultimately, just because somebody on an app says they really like this wine,
it doesn't mean that you would like it.
Exactly.
Or maybe take it as a pinch of salt, or maybe as a first round. Or...
Absolutely. Now, if you have, for example, my business partner and I, we have very, very similar expectations and flavor profiles that we appreciate. If he likes a wine, I'm going to say, yes, there's a good 10 out of 10 chance I'm going to like that wine as well.
Because you know that your palates match really well.
Exactly.
Right.
But, and then once you're married for 10 years, you can also try to work that out with your spouse as well and see if your palates come together. But also, when you start off, definitely, your palates are going to be very different, from a light Pinot Noir, a heavy Shiraz, a light white, a sweet white, a little bubbly. And that's the beauty about wine. It's constantly changing, and what you think you like today and what you will like later is always changing. It's always evolving. But the important thing is that, one, you drink what you like. And if you're looking to invest in wines and put wines down, that you understand what kind of wines that you're buying for that process. I know wedding couples who they want to buy a case of wine so that each year on their anniversary they want to open up a particular wine. And just because it was the wine that they had for their wedding doesn't mean that in 10 years that wine's still going to be good. I know marriages get better with age, maybe not necessarily every wine.
Really?
So only 2% of wine in the world today will sell it for more than 5 years.
2%?
2%.
Really? I thought the longer the wine is?
It used to be that way.
What changed?
Until technology stepped in and the mass production of wines has been really affected. And it's been studied and known that people buy wine now, they drink it now. So there's not much point for the wineries to invest in long-term cellaring and waiting for people to enjoy it. So they use technology to accelerate that process of making it ready to be drunk now. So don't expect that you're going to buy this case of wine that was fantastic on your wedding day and that in 10 years it's still going to be that same style of wine.
So if I have this expectation to do that, I need to check with the manufacturer if it's good.
Correct. If it's a product that's still going to be good in 10, 12 years with proper cellaring and
Right,
storage.
because the way, you mean in terms of manufacturing, at point of manufacture, they are already ready for this wine not to last so long.
Correct, that is correct.
So it could literally go bad, even if I
Absolutely.
store it pretty well.
Correct. The likelihood is that it will after just a few years because of that's the way they're making wine these days.
I see, and of course it doesn't really help that Singapore is warm and
Exactly.
And
Proper storage conditions are very important.
ah,
Our wines we guarantee for at least 5 years to 20 years.
oh, that's a long time.
It is, and I have people who buy our wines and say, "Hey, we want to be able to buy a case and put this down." And each year on their anniversary, I get these emails. It's fantastic
Wow.
of them, pictures of
Wow.
them celebrating their anniversary and
Wow.
with our wine. And it's,
Well, it means that every bottle of Peng wine would take like 3, 4, 5 times longer
correct.
than
Correct.
other wines.
That is true. And so you
Wow.
can leave it open. The advantage is you can leave it open like this for a couple of days, and it's still going to be good because it's still
Seriously?
aging very, very slowly. Yes.
Oh, wow. I think
So if you have a fast-moving wine, then maybe that's the type of wine, or fast, quickly produced wine. Maybe that's the type of wine that you want to use for your wedding. But if the wine that you want to put down to celebrate your anniversary and such, you may look at a port, which is an alcohol, a wine that's been fortified with brandy and has the ability to sell it for a long time. Or again, as you mentioned, reach out to the manufacturer and the winemaker, the producer, and find out if it's a type of wine that will sell it. So if you were looking to buy a wine that you want to open up on your anniversary and you want it to last 10 to maybe even more years than that, I would recommend that you're specific about what wine you buy. And if you wish to buy a port, which is a wine that's fortified with brandy from either Australia or Portugal, and those wines will last for quite some time. So if you have a wine that you have for your wedding, that just may not be the same wine that you wish to use to celebrate your anniversary year after year. And so you can still have that special bottle of wine that you go back up and have it in your room after the wedding and such, and do your celebrating there, and then that's the wine that starts the tradition all the next years.